Hey everybody! Today we're going to talk about some common mistakes, some misconfigurations, and how to go about fixing them. So check it out. So we're going to talk a little bit about the most common questions that we here at Losmandy get when people call in. And there's certain questions that just get repeated more often than other ones. So we figured we'd take the opportunity just to answer those really quickly. The first type of problem is what I call foobar. Nothing is working correctly. The Gemini seems to be possessed and has a mind of its own. It slews God only knows where. It's just really messed up. And typically for beginners who call in with this problem, it's that they haven't gone through and done the basic setup information. Fortunately, Gemini has a quick start, which is a bit of a built-in wizard, and it's available through the startup menu. And I have a great tutorial on it that's right below. Put the link in the description. And this just walks you through essentially a cold start followed by mount selection, followed by all the information that you would normally need to put in accurately so that the Gemini functions and works correctly and does what you expect. So the quick start wizard is a great way to get that basic setup and get all the information in you need to make sure that your Gemini's doing well. Another common problem we get is that the go-to system is way off. And I'm talking like pointing into the ground, pointing 180 degrees from where it should be, just something is completely wrong. And oftentimes that is because the location data is not entered correctly, particularly the sign. So one of the resources that I use is a site called latlong.net. And I'll put the link in the description below. There's a lot of sites like this, but I find this is one is pretty handy if you can live with all these ads. So I'm going to go ahead and type in Burbank, CA. And it gives me the format here that I need to enter in to the Gemini. And you'll notice here that it gives me the latitude. And again, in the northern hemisphere, this is a positive, and the southern hemisphere, that will be negative. And then here's the longitude. And a lot of times the mistake that people will make is they won't put a negative sign in front of the longitude. So we are west of Greenwich Mean Time, which means that it's going to be negative. And if you are east of it, somewhere, in the Middle East or Russia or someplace like that, it's going to be positive. So this is a great way to very quickly find your information that you need for latitude and longitude and the correct signs for what goes in there. I think that's my Gemini complaining. If you're like me and you prefer not to have to type in coordinate information, I use the Losmandy GPS accessory. There's a link in the description below to it. And we actually have a good tutorial on how to set it up, but you just plug it in and it will automatically read your location from the GPS satellites and just plug it in for you with the touch of a button. A related question that we often get has to do with go-tos being just slightly off, like they point in roughly the right direction, but they're always 15 to 20 degrees off of where they should be. And no amount of alignment or modeling is going to fix this. And that's almost always a problem with entering an accurate time zone offset. And time zone offset actually is, or I guess it's just time zone, but accurate time zone information in Gemini is in fact critical to determining accurate go-tos. There's another site I use. Again, I'm sort of a big fan of internet resources. Here's one called timeanddate.com. And there is a time zone map in here that's kind of nice to use. And there's just, there's not a lot of time zones. So you don't have to identify your location specifically. But what I like about this is we can go here and pick something close, like Los Angeles is close to Burbank. So I'll go ahead and click that. And it tells me the time, tells me lots of other stuff, the weather, some other things. And here's another, latitude and longitude resource. But down here, it will say, here is the time zone and here is the offset. It's -7 hours. And what's important here is that this takes into consideration not only where you are, but daylight savings as well. So every year around daylight savings time, we'll get a bunch of calls about how the go-to has suddenly become inaccurate, or at the end of daylight savings time, people will call and they'll say, oh my gosh, my go-tos are inaccurate again. And it's almost always around daylight savings time. So this is a great resource and a place for you to check out the time zone and to make sure that that information is accurately put into your Gemini system. We'll also get calls sometimes about the Gemini being in a foreign language, typically German, and they can't seem to get out of it. And there's a very easy fix for that. We actually have a web page for it here on our technical support area. You just need to simply recalibrate your screen. And there's a series of steps. Again, I'll put the link in the description here, but it's a series of screens of just kind of clicking and using a little ballpoint pen or something, preferably something that isn't too sharp, but you'll be able to recalibrate your screen and it'll be back to working. So if you don't sprechen Sie Deutsch, this will be a great way to continue using Gemini in the language of your choice.
Oh, wie süß. Aber du kannst doch kein Deutsch. Blamier dich nicht so, Schätzchen.
Oh, thank you, honey. Thank you so much. Okay, moving on. Another problem we see sometimes is that the Gemini doesn't retain the location, the date, or the time. So when you reboot your Gemini, for some reason that information is all kind of defaulted, or it's not the information you saved last time. And that's oftentimes a sign that your battery in your Gemini needs to be changed. And we, again, have a great video tutorial already set up for that. I'm going to put a link in the description here. In particular, if your controller goes directly, when you boot it up and you're looking at your hand controller, and it goes directly to the diamonds, the home screen, doesn't go through the asking you about the startup mode, but just goes direct where you see the 4 diamonds and the menu and the go-to system as well. That's definitely when you want to be changing out your battery. We also sometimes get calls regarding the motor performance. Sometimes the motor will beep or stall out, or for some reason it will slew and then it will stop. And oftentimes that's a problem with the power supply. We recommend, or at least I should say, the Gemini runs on 12 to 18 volts input, DC input, and generally needs about 2 to 3 amps conservatively. I mean, it kind of needs less than that, but a 2 to 3 amp rated power supply is going to be great for that. Sometimes if folks are running 12 volts, it turns out that it's just not quite enough. The Gemini really prefers to use 15 to 18 volts. And the good news is if you just want a quick and simple solution, we have an AC adapter. It's great. It actually runs at 15 volts, and I think it's 3 amps. It's reasonably priced, and it's a great way to power your Losmandy Gemini and the mounts and everything and not worry about the quality of your power input. Great way to solve any low power situations. The last tip is for the older Gemini 1 system, and it has to do with entering in the date and time information. Now that we've switched over to 2020, there's been some confusion about what is the proper format to enter in. Fortunately, again, we have a great web link. I'm going to show it to you here, and then again, we'll put it in the description below. But this is something from Renee, who will show you, here's the UTC, here's the current UTC date time. So right now, as we record, this is July 15th, 2020. And more importantly, right here, here is the format in which you enter it. And it's a little bit confusing because the first 2 digits are the last 2 year digits. So it's going to be 20, right? So of course it's 2020 right now. So of course you're going to put in 20. And a lot of folks have thought that those 4 digits are actually the entire 4 year digits. So you would type in 2020 or 2019. And of course that would not be correct. So you type in the 2-digit year, the 2-digit month, which of course in this case is 07. And then your days, and then the hours and minutes and seconds. And that format is the correct format for just the Gemini 1 system. Gemini 2 system is a totally different thing. But that will help you if you're entering in that information and somehow the Gemini 1, if it's complaining about not having the correct information, that's probably the reason why when it comes to entering the date system. So that's the most common questions that we get and the answers to them. Hopefully you found some value in that. If you want to see more of this kind of thing, please subscribe. Hit that subscribe button below and the bell next to it to be notified of new videos as they come out. And we're working really hard to produce a lot more content that will let you get more out of your Losmandy system.